I'm a little unsure of how this now could impact the American Conference, if not the Sun Belt Conference as well. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode here on the College Underdogs YouTube channel. I'm your host, Trey Smith. And we got some stuff to talk about today, man. Obviously, with the release of the new EA College Football 25 video game yesterday, which I will be talking about today. I'm going to save that for the end, though, because I know that's not everybody, but it is the number one trending topic right now in college football. And yes, I've played it. And yes, I have a lot of thoughts to share that I will save for the end. But there's some stuff that came out yesterday that I think kind of slid under the radar because of the release of the game. And that's what I want to get into on today's show, because with this latest Dennis Dodd article, I'm now back leaning towards a best of the rest G5 conference being the only way the PAC-2 survives. Unless, of course, they somehow get an invite to either, well, I guess at this point it would probably be the ACC. Obviously, there's a lot of drama happening there with the ACC as well, with Florida State and Clemson and allegedly the Big 12 trying to make a play, but then it just got news dropped yesterday that the SEC and the Big 10 are no longer pursuing, or aren't, I shouldn't say no longer. They aren't pursuing or interested in expanding with Florida State or Clemson. Y'all know how realignment goes, man. Number one rule of realignment season, never trust realignment season, right? Everything changes constantly. But I want to look at sort of what's going on between the Mountain West and the PAC-2 and how that could impact the greater landscape. And then, I also want to talk about EA's College Football 25. So let's get into it. Before I do, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, watch it to the end, comment at the end, share it with a friend, and let's keep this conversation going. If you are new to the channel, we are the one-stop shop for mid-major Group of 5 football. We cover all those conferences. And today I want to look at this Dodd article. Actually, before that, sort of another trending, something something that released yesterday that kind of got under the radar as well was Fresno State's coach Jeff Tedford had to step down as head coach due to health reasons. And they have a lot coming back on that team. That team is, they're expected to make some noise in the Mountain West and potentially be knocking at the door of the playoffs come season's end. So they've got their assistant head coach, I believe Tim Skipper, is going to step in as interim. But man, losing your head coach, a month before the season starts, less than a week probably or two before players start to report for camp. I don't know what that's going to do to that team. Oh, and they open the season at defending national champion Michigan Wolverines in the Big House. So if you hadn't heard that, that could potentially take a team off the board that's going to be in the mix, but we'll see. They've got a lot of talented players, a lot of guys coming back. But I'm curious to see how much that impacts them. All right, now to the Dodd article. So the headline, if you hadn't seen it, I'll put the link down in the description. Why Mountain West interest in long-term relationship with Oregon State and Washington State may be waning. And basically what Dennis Dodd lays out, he talked with Teresa Gold, the new commissioner of the PAC-2, at PAC or Pac-12 Media Days, whatever you want to call it, PAC-2, Pac-12. They still have technically the Pac-12 banner. And I'm going to read you a couple excerpts from this article. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. I'm certainly going to give you my thoughts and kind of tell you what I'm gaining from this, but I would love to know what you're gaining from this in the comments. And I don't know. I'm a little unsure of how this now could impact the American Conference, if not the Sun Belt Conference as well. We usually don't see those teams too much up for discussion and realignment, but I think right now, maybe just a Texas State, maybe. just depending on how much of the state of Texas you want to get in, or if you want to, let me just read these to you real quick. All right. So Dodd says, after a week of speaking to industry sources during various media days, there seems to be momentum toward the Mountain West cooling on inclusion of Oregon State and Washington State. Such a move has been portrayed as expansion, a merger, or a reverse merger, although it's hard to envision who reverse merges with whom. Well, ideally, if you wanted to benefit Oregon State, Washington State, they're going to want to reverse merge under the Pac-12 banner. That way they can keep all of those units that they'll be keeping from the departing teams. Remember, this is critical. If the Pac-12 conference does cease to exist, whatever remaining units have not been paid out will go back to the teams who essentially earned those units when they were members of the Pac-12. So if this were to be a reverse merger, I guess it wouldn't be a reverse merger. It would just be a merger. It would be two teams from the Pac-12 merging into the Mountain West. I don't see Washington State and Oregon State doing that because then they're going to lose a lot of money. The Mountain West has a scheduling agreement with both teams for the 2024 season with a mutual option to continue the partnership in 2025. Might as well make that a Mountain West option because it's becoming clear the conference doesn't necessarily need or even want the Beavers and Cougars on a full-time membership basis. So according to this, the Mountain West is now the one saying, I don't even know if we want you guys. Thought you could add some value. Thought you would increase and help our conference, especially with the upcoming media negotiation in a couple of years. But now not so much. The commissioner of the Pac-12, Teresa Gold, said, I don't know if the Mountain West thinks they need these two schools, honestly. I would imagine if and when those conversations ever take place, it's going to be based in part on the economics of the decision and what they bring to the table. The intent is to have a decision before we start this football season. She added, there is so much riding on that in terms of future media rights, recruiting decisions, all of those things. So what I'm not clear on as I read this is, are they saying that before the start of football season, they're wanting the intent is to have a decision. So they're wanting a decision on whether this merger is going to happen or not, or they want a decision on whether they're going to continue this scheduling partnership into 2025. Either way, it's a big decision, but it's my understanding the current contract that's in place covers the next 2 years. Therefore, this decision that she's referencing before the start of football season, before the start of this football season, has to be pertaining to a full membership inclusion of the Pac-2 into the Mountain West, or they reverse merge under the Pac-2 banner, Pac-12 banner. So then further down in the article, Dodd starts to talk about reasons why, I don't want to go through the entire thing, but there was one, here it is. He's talking about reasons why this stance is shifting for the Mountain West. Like why the Mountain West at one point was like, yes, let's figure out a way to start with this alliance and then get you into our conference. Whereas now they're starting to cool. Talks about playoff access, which the Mountain West has. The Pac-12 does not as of right now. Talks about the war chest, talks about the Mountain West wanting to protect its own brand and things of that nature. Only thing I really disagree with that he talked about when he was talking about the CFP was how the Mountain West, look, he called them the best G5 conference. If you want to go with that, fair enough, top to bottom. But just because you have the best top to bottom G5 conference does not mean you have the best opportunity to get that playoff bid. And for whatever reason, national media seems to not be able to understand that. The best G5 conference does not guarantee the playoff bid. Look no further than a season ago. Liberty had the worst strength of schedule in the league, in the nation, in the country. And they got that playoff bid. Well, the New Year's Six bid. But even if you look at the history of the college football playoff era in its 4-team format, when there was a New Year's Six bid for the G5, highest rated G5, the American Conference dominated that. Between Cincinnati, between Memphis, Cincy actually getting into the Final Four, Cincy, Memphis, Tulane. Okay, I think Boise State got in there 1 year, or maybe there's another year that I'm missing. I think Boise State got in there 1 year. The MAC got in there 1 year when PJ Fleck was at Western Michigan. And then, of course, you had the Conference USA last year. And outside of that, it was the American Athletic Conference teams. So, but regardless, adding these two teams to the Mountain West, it still doesn't guarantee that your conference is going to get that bid, even though it would enhance the competitive nature of your conference. But the part that really caught my attention was, I just had it right here. The addition of Oregon State and Washington State would mean only a 10% to 15% increase in terms of media revenue it could command, or in the Mountain West current deal. According to one veteran industry source with experience in television negotiations, and this is referring to Jim Williams, Emmy-winning sports media consultant, which if you have been following this channel for some time, he is a friend of the channel. He's been a guest on the channel. He talked last fall, early in the fall, when the American was right in the middle of some realignment stuff. Him and I have talked pretty extensively when it comes to this kind of stuff, because the media and all that is not my area of expertise. I love talking ball. I love talking realignment as it unfolds, but there's still elements I don't understand. But what Jim Williams said, he's quoted in this article as saying, I don't think it would be that much in reference to the 15%. I think it's more like 10%. 15% is way too much. The Mountain West currently has a deal with CBS Sports and Fox Sports through the 2025 football season. It pays approximately $45 million per year. TNT could get aggressive in future negotiations. However, considering it has seemingly lost its NBA rights, yada, yada, yada. Bottom line is it doesn't help your access. It doesn't help your command for a new deal beyond 10%. So now from the Mountain West perspective, what can you bring us? Because we've talked about this before. What do you need to pay attention to as a G5 program looking to change conferences? What is the media deal? What is the revenue? What is the access to the CFP? And how much linear coverage are you going to get? Now, I think we're starting to see a trend where we're going to see a lot of streaming, even on some of these bigger deals, like with the Big 10, even the Big 12. But you still want linear coverage. That's how you get the exposure for the teams in your conference. And basically what the Mountain West is saying is you don't really move the needle that much on the revenue we could command in a new deal. You don't really add any value in terms of playoff access because we already have that. And you don't really add any value when it comes to linear coverage because you don't even have hardly any of that. You got this deal with the CW right now. Everything else you're getting through your alliance with us. So they're kind of able to now be in the driver's seat for any negotiations that happens, which with that being the case, that makes me think now that this idea of a best of the rest conference may be in play. I don't know how long this is going to take, but I would like to think maybe over the next month or so, we should start to see some movement on this. Now, if you haven't seen the video I posted either last week or the week before, I laid out what those numbers look like It can get pricey for the Pac-12 to rebuild this conference. But if you remember on that video, I was leaning towards the Pac-2 reverse merging with the Mountain West, keeping the war chest, funding themselves with their own, self-funding themselves as Power 5 programs, look to get a playoff bid in a couple years, and then hope to maybe get an invite back into a power conference after a couple years go by. Whereas now, I don't know that they're going to have that option. So now their only option may be to exhaust, a significant amount of that war chest they have into rebuilding the conference. And you know what they're going to look to first are their top PAC teams, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them trying to make a play for some American teams. Now, here's where that gets interesting, is because I think there's some American teams right now that have their eyes on the ACC, especially with it looking like Clemson and Florida State are getting further and further out the ACC door. I think more movement's going to have to happen other than just those two. But what we got to wait and see is what happens as a ripple effect of Florida State and Clemson exiting the conference. If everything stays intact, the ACC doesn't expand. And I talked about that as well already. But if more teams follow suit once those two teams exit, that's when you could potentially see the ACC looking to make a move on a Memphis or a Tulane or a USF, even UConn getting back into the fold. Though I think that, I don't know, I can't come off of UConn to the Big 12 when it's all said and done. But I think in the short term, UConn's football needs to get into a conference ASAP, and they need to do whatever possible to try to get an invite from the MAC. Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comments on this. Based on this article, go read the whole thing. I'm putting the link down in the description. But let me know. I mean, does this open up the pathway to a best of the rest conference? Will the Pac-12 just use Mountain West schools first, and then will they look to the American? Which creates another discussion. Does it make sense for teams in the American? And again, what type of media deal could they command? And would it be all streaming? Because even right now with the American Conference, they still have a head and shoulders better media deal. Even if the Mountain West doubles, if they are able to land a deal that doubles their current deal, it still wouldn't be half of what the total value of the American Athletic Conference's current deal is. Now, if ESPN does a look-in with the American after losing Cincy, Houston, UCF, and SMU, that could change also. But Commissioner Oresco told me back in October that I feel like I'd have to go back and look, but I think he said they did the look-in and everything's good, but he did not have any concerns about that deal being impacted. So, all right, let's take a couple minutes here to talk about this new EA college football game that is taking over the internet. Yes, I have it. I'm just going to tell you right now, I would love to get some of your thoughts. What playbooks are you using, those of you that play the game? Listen, I play on Heisman mode and Heisman mode only. I've been just playing some random games, trying to get a feel for the game. It is much more challenging than the last version of the game we had, as expected. I did start a dynasty. I started a coordinator dynasty at, I think, Colorado State, just to try to get a feel. I had a pass-first philosophy I wanted to deploy, but my passing skills need a lot of work. So then I started shifting towards a more run, kind of a run to set up the pass. Not so much option, but I've kind of been teetering between Tennessee's veer and shoot playbook and then the UNLV playbook. There's a lot I like out of both of those. I initially was using Wake Forest playbook in the slow mesh, and I got pretty good with that. The problem is I was getting way too many penalties using that for an ineligible man downfield. And I was about ready to break my entire system, so I had to switch playbooks. As I've been switching playbooks and even philosophies of how I play, I'm probably going to just blow it all up and start a fresh new dynasty because Colorado State was a one-star program that kind of had somewhat of a foundation to support a pass-first offense because that's what they run in real life, the air raid, with Hal Mummy's son as the OC, if you didn't know, Matt Mummy. Whereas now I'm looking to be a little bit more run to set up the pass. So let me know, any of you that play, what are you finding? Give me some good plays or playbooks or whatever. What am I missing? I will be back on that later this evening. Yesterday, as soon as I finished all my work for the day, I locked in, and like I said, I got pretty good with that Wake Forest slow mesh. I may give it one more try. But like I said, I just couldn't do all those penalties because there's nothing I could do about it. I don't know how to avoid it. And if there's something I'm missing with that, let me know. But, yeah, let me know your thoughts on this best of the rest thing in this Dennis Dodd article. Let me know any hacks for this new EA college football game. And I'll see y'all Thursday. I think Thursday we'll probably do a little bit of a preview as the American Athletic Conference Media Days are next Monday and Tuesday. I will be in attendance. My credentials have been approved. Our platform here at YouTube on the College Underdogs channel, in case you did not know, we are a media credentialed platform. So we'll talk more about that on Thursday. That's it for me today. Trey Smith, College Underdogs.